Welcome to the Down There Where podcast. I'm Amy Milne. This is the show where we get loud about women's below-the-belt health from menstruation to menopause and everything in between. So many women continue to silently endure issues like endometriosis, PCOS, menstrual disorders, and menopause-related challenges without the proper support. We're done with the whispers. We're here to break the taboos, share the stories, and have the conversations no matter how uncomfortable. Whether you're dealing with your own health journey, supporting someone who is, or just ready to join the movement, you're in the right place. Let's get loud. I am so excited to welcome my longtime friend, Laura Magnoli, to podcast today. We've known each other for over 3 decades, and if it wasn't for Laura, my recovery after my hysterectomy would have been very different. She's one heck of a woman, and I am so grateful I can call her a friend. On top of being my friend, Laura is a senior marketing and business leader with decades of experience in marketing, hospitality, and brand strategy, driving growth for some of North America's most recognizable hospitality and food brands. Known for her ability to lead high-performing teams, build powerful partnerships, and bring brands to life through experiential marketing and storytelling, Laura has built a career presenting on stages, leading national campaigns, and operating at the intersection of strategy, operations, and guest experience. Alongside this high-demand career, Laura spent more than 20 years navigating complex and often misunderstood women's health conditions, including uterine fibroids, adenomyosis, really hard one to say, and recurrent surgeries, while continuing to perform at a high level professionally. In this episode, Laura shares her deeply personal journey through diagnosis, treatment, and ultimately a hysterectomy, while reflecting on the impact these health challenges had on her career, relationships, and decisions around family. Her story highlights the importance of recognizing patterns in women's health, advocating for answers earlier, and acknowledging the emotional and life impact that major decisions like a hysterectomy can carry. Laura, welcome to the show. I'm excited to introduce Laura and welcome you to the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you, Laura. And, it's always amazing when I reach out to people to invite them to be my guest on a podcast. And they're like, I don't know if I have anything to talk about, or I don't know what you want me to share. And I kind of like that because it just, is as it is like sitting in your underwear, it's a little uncomfortable. And, there's growth in uncomfortability, as we all know.
Well,
Um, I'm excited. I remember the day I met you at George Brown College in our event planning course. I don't think I met you on the first day, but I remember you were kind of like sitting a couple rows over and you just kept answering questions. And I'm like, I want to know this girl. She's like super smart and outspoken. I love it. And I feel like by the second class, you and I were sitting next to each other. And from then on, we've lived separate lives. We've stayed in touch throughout variations of our life. And then, as we were talking pre-show, you're like, the last time we actually saw each other in person was when Spencer was born, which is 22
yeah.
years ago. So anyways, I'm excited to have you here because I think you have so much to share. I know a little bit and a lot about you, but tell my audience, who are you?
Well, as I said to you, I don't know what I'm going to have to offer. And you said you're a wealth of information.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to be someone of help. But my name's Laura. I'm in the Toronto area here in Canada. And, for my, call it 30 years, a couple decades,
Mhm.
I've lived roles in marketing. Like
Mhm.
as a career, it's been in marketing. As you just mentioned, we took events. So a little bit of event planning, a lot of fun stuff, worked for really big brands.
Mhm.
And I would say a high demanding career, a lot of travel, a lot of presentations, and that you grow and evolve in your roles. So me as a career, it's dominantly been in the marketing phase space. Me as a person, I'm single.
Mhm.
I have no kids, sorry, I shouldn't say single. I've never been married, no
Yep.
kids, dated, all that stuff. And so my journey may relate to a different audience
Mhm.
because there is a lot of women who have different issues, and they're in, a marriage, they've
Mhm.
had children or have had, some opportunities in different spaces. And so what I would say for me, what I think is unique and maybe not unique, it felt unique to me was I felt alone. I felt like I was the only one who had all of these challenges, and they go back to my early 20s. And I say challenges from the health
Mhm,
perspective.
mhm.
Well, I lived a great career, and you have that great front, and you're on stage, and you're doing all these things, and people are like, "She's got a career," and even my mom would say, "Yeah, she doesn't have children because she's married to her career." That's who I was as an identity.
Mhm,
But nobody knew the behind the scenes. Nobody knew the personal struggles
mhm.
and the journey, 3 decades later to get in front of you to be able to talk about it. And so, I would say that, the end, and not to get to the punchline,
Mhm,
my 3 decades got me to a hysterectomy.
mhm,
And so I'm sitting in front of you today as 50. My hysterectomy was at 47.
mhm.
So I'm actually, the date that I picked to chat with you is actually poignant for me, or a little symbolic. It's the third year anniversary of my hysterectomy on the 30th. So it was as close to the
Yeah,
30th as possible. And you remember dates, you
yep.
remember things. And I remember my early 20s and my very first surgery,
Mm,
and it was to, remove cervical cancer,
'kay,
right, on my cervix.
'kay.
And so that was in my 20s, and you're thinking one and done.
Right.
Like, it was an abnormal pap, go on in. And the thing about that, and it's one of those, people don't always talk about things. I remember that early 20s. I remember the operating room. I remember the like, how sterile it was. I remember the doctor had no bedside manner, and I remember vinegar. And I can't
Mm.
actually be around anybody that puts vinegar on anything because the room smelled like vinegar. And to this day, I'm traumatized by vinegar because it brings me right back to being alone,
Mhm.
being cold, being in that room. We're just gonna go and do this, and you're gonna be fine.
Right.
And it's like it was one and done and out, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, fine. And then actually, in the moment, you're like thinking there's nothing else.
Right.
Um, and then it continued. And so, you don't realize at the time that that was gonna be the sort of the start of my relationship with my reproductive health,
Right.
right? You're thinking, "Okay, they found something great, it's gone. Cancer, no, you don't wanna ever hear that word, I'm
Mhm,
good." And then things in my 30s shifted, more symptoms, and I think, as you're going and talking to other guests,
mhm,
that bleeding in between cycles, that
mhm.
very heavy period, the uncomfortable, the cramping, and it left to leaving and having, my first surgery to remove, polyps on my
Okay.
uterus, and then it happened again. And so, like, again, you're thinking one and done,
Right.
and then a couple of years later, and then it happened again. And so I actually had 5 surgeries, to remove different types of polyps and different type of fibroids because I kept thinking that's gonna be the one.
Right.
That's the last one. And so as I'm telling you this is my 30s, now getting into my 40s, and I'm still building the career.
Of
And
course.
I'm still getting on stage and on
Mhm,
planes and on travels. And so the other piece of this is how do you cope and put on a brave face? And as a woman and a woman leader,
mhm.
there's no time for you to be like, I can't call in today because
Yeah.
this. It's like, okay. And so I had a lot of I would say painkillers,
Mhm.
pills to help stop the bleeding. And I don't want to say became overly dependent because that sounds like an addiction,
Right.
but became very, very dependent on just I'll pop 2 Advil.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
take 2 Advil.
Totally.
Well, and then you're unconscious. Did I take 2? I can't remember because I still get the pain,
Mhm.
but I gotta go. And so then it became all of, the dependencies on just getting through. And, it was really the unpredictability because you never knew, right?
You never know.
And
You
it
never know.
impacts every decision you make.
Yeah.
Can I go on vacation?
Yeah.
Can I be on vacation? What do I need to pack for vacation? What do I need to pack for this trip? Somewhere I heard, and I don't know if it was you in one of your how many pairs of black pants can I pack?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then you're in hotel rooms and those are crisp white sheets, right? So like
Mhm.
pack the dark pajamas and like you're just
Yeah.
it impacts your mind and decisions while still making big decisions through your day-to-day career, right?
Yeah. Very much so.
And so, when I think about that and pair that with dating, it impact that. Because
Right.
how do you explain? And I love your story that your husband became your advocate and he
Mhm.
read about it and wanted to be your partner. And as your life partner in this, when you're dating, you're just uncomfortable. And so you choose to take
Totally.
the back seat, maybe not the commitment. And as more and more surgeries and the more I was having conversations with the doctors, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to have kids.
Right.
And when you're meeting someone and they're like, "Yeah, I want 5 babies and I want da 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 da," you're I was
Mhm.
unconsciously going, "Let's not make this one happen or be committed
Right.
because your dream might not be the reality, and I don't want to be the one not being able to be
Right.
the one to deliver that for you, pun
Right.
intended.
Totally.
So when I think about dating, the career, every single decision was hinging on my reproductive health. And I didn't know that
Right.
until the after, until we're sitting here kind of today and I'm preparing for chatting with you. And, you know, when I said at the very beginning, I had a hysterectomy at 47.
Mm.
Never did I think in my 20s that that would be what the
Right.
solve would be.
Right.
Never in my 30s did I think that that would be the solve. Did I think I was going to have children? Yes.
Mm.
But when you're not in an active relationship and you're not having, that
Yep.
whole committed partnership, you're like, okay, so what is that going to look like? And
Right.
what is that journey? And I think, not saying I self sabotage, but looking back, you know, if I was honest with myself and had those honest conversations and maybe found a partner that was as loving as your husband,
Right.
you're more in that embarrassed phase at the dating, at the early dating. And I didn't know my body and I didn't
Right.
know how to answer things. And it's one of those, if I knew then what I know now, and I think if I can leave that with anybody listening, and maybe they might be in their younger generation or just starting this, speak up,
Yeah.
be
Big
honest,
time.
don't be embarrassed,
Right.
because those conversations may have changed the lanes I would have went in and the commitments I might have made or the decisions, not changing the hysterectomy. I don't want to say
Right.
that that was a
Yeah.
mistake, but I look back and go, if I was more confident and more bold and more advocacy and more with doctors and
Mm.
relationships, would this journey be different? And it might have been, I don't know.
Mm.
And you don't know.
Mm.
So it's one of those, how did I get here? Well, it was a lot. It wasn't just one day,
No.
one incident, one heavy period. It was 3
3 decades.
decades to get to, okay, I'm gonna need to make this decision
Yeah.
to live sort of the next 40, like the next better part of my
Yeah.
life. And that decision came with accepting there's
Mhm.
gonna be no children.
Right.
And to be in a marriage and having a partner, I can't imagine making that decision because it's impacting 2 people
Right.
and it's impacting 2 lives. And I'm solo, and I'll say I definitely would advocate if anyone is thinking about a hysterectomy, I did 6 months of therapy beforehand
Mm.
because it's a final decision.
Yeah, of
It
course.
isn't like they could put the organs back in.
Right.
It isn't like this is temporary,
Yeah.
right? I'm a person that writes in pencil. So
Yeah.
from a commitment perspective, this was a pen decision, right? There's no eraser.
Yeah.
And the therapy that I had to make the decision made the decision even easier
Mhm.
because we walked through it with each session. All right, so you're 47.
Right.
Let's say the hottest guy in the bar walks up to you tomorrow night. You connect with him, and he's the hottest guy ever, and you're gonna make beautiful babies, and you get knocked up right on the first date.
Yeah.
Not saying she's like, I don't encourage you to do that, but let's
But
say
sometimes, it happens.
you never know.
Yeah.
She's like, you're gonna be 48 with a newborn. Let's
Right.
walk through what 48 at a newborn looks like.
Right.
The next session, does he stay? Does he not stay?
Right.
Next session, what support do you have around you? How old are your parents? How
Right.
far away do they live? What's your apartment look like? What does the daycare situation? Your career. Let's talk about your career. You're on a plane every week.
Right.
Where's this newborn? Can you afford to take 18 months off on your own because you're so as you walk through those challenging questions,
Mhm.
the decision came back to, would I want a baby at 48? Not
Right.
can I have a baby at
Right.
48?
Oh, I just
And
got
when it
chills.
became, do I want one at 48?
Right.
The answer was no.
Yeah.
The answer actually was no. And so she said, and I thought it was so empowering, I'm making that decision.
Right.
The decision isn't making me make that decision.
Mhm.
Like, and I was at peace with that. And I remember the night before my surgery, I just journaled and cried because it's final. And nobody knew. Like, that's the other piece. I did alone. Even my parents didn't know. The only way they knew was when I told them I had to move in for 6 weeks for them to care after a little surgery. Just need you to make me tea, mom.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know what I was going through, and they learned more about it in my post-op
Right.
because I didn't even feel comfortable because how do I be the daughter, the only daughter, to say, "I'm not giving you a grandbaby. Like, you're not getting grandchildren." And that's a tough conversation to have. And I got all very mentally in my head about that because I didn't think, how do you say that to your parents? And then you have to remember it's about you. It's
Mhm.
your life, it's your decision, it's your health. And, there was a lot that went into making that decision. And again, the therapist, when it got down to my decision, then it became, okay, I can do this.
Right.
Because I did cancel the surgery twice.
Wow.
One, because I didn't think, "Okay, wait, no, 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 there's still hope.
Right.
There's still hope."
Right. Right.
And then the second time I canceled it because I actually found out what the surgery was about, and I was like, "Oh, hell no. I'm not doing that." And I'll tell you, if anybody is listening, I got so hung up on the cosmetic part of it because I was like, "I'm gonna have scars?
Mm.
What do you mean I'm gonna have scars? Like, what do you mean?" And then for me, I went straight to, so unlike a woman who has a C-section and can look at that scar and go, I have that beautiful baby that this scar is about. The scars to me were, you can't have children. And I couldn't mentally get around having those scars on my body as a reminder of, you can't have children. To the point where I was like, "Should I put Sharpies on my body, like, where I think the
Mhm.
incisions are gonna go?" Because I asked him to draw them from, like, I
Yeah.
got very super hyper obsessed of the scars. Like, now I'm going down a different rabbit hole,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
like, forget about my periods and the heavy bleeding. Now I'm in the, what's my life gonna be like afterwards, and anybody gonna look at me like, "What, can I wear a bikini again?"
Right.
And I know you said, I wanna bring in the underwear conversation
Yeah.
and sit here in my underwear with you, and ladies and gentlemen, I am wearing underwear. But unlike Amy here, you know, I am not at the stage where I'm comfortable. And like, yes, I don't see 3 years later, do I see the scars when I get in the shower in the morning? No, I don't.
Right.
In the moment, it was a very painful reminder of, there was no output
Right.
for these scars. And I'm going down past, stop me at any time,
No,
but
I mean,
um
Laura, like, I'm like, I'm speechless, which is rare. You have carried, I just want to acknowledge how much you've carried on your own. Like, sorry. It's
don't
so
start.
it's so you've carried so many different iterations of this and you made it so personal. Like, not you made it, it's not, I don't have words right now. Like, you you were truly alone, and your subconscious and the world around you. Like, it's not even you. I'm so sad and empowered at the same time because you felt this way and your body reacted this way and your mind reacted this way because the world around us hasn't allowed for you to have said any of that out loud. Like, I'm still back at what got you to the doctors. Holy
Mhm.
shit, dating, like, you know, I didn't I I haven't dated since I was 18 years old, right?
Yeah.
Like, but, like, just as you're speaking about, like, every time you were like, "Wow, I might, like, bleed all over the sheets, bleed all over you. I may or may not be able to have children. This is likely painful. How do I" we haven't normalized any of this to be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, here's my, like, oh, by the way, so this is how I menstruate. It's really fucked up. Um, I'm a great human. I am beautiful. I am
Yep.
vibrant. I am all the things. I mean, you are sexy and smart and beautiful. And I mean, I see your stuff. I see what you like and music and vacation and all the things. And you're this, like, incredible human. And what makes me sad and what provoked that for me was like, you are this amazing human being and you've carried this fucking weight all the way through to, like, how are my parents gonna feel? Like, you're
Mhm.
about to, like, me hysterectomies are fucking major, friend. Like,
Mhm. I know. I didn't know that at the time. But
wow.
yeah. And I would say, the reaction, and I'll keep it high level. My mom's like, "Are you sure?"
Oh,
Like, and it was like, so she was doing the, "What about this? Have you tried this?"
right,
"No." Like, and it's like, because I didn't bring them in or feel comfortable bringing them on the 20-year, 30-year
right,
journey, it was like, "No, like, there's gotta be something, you can fix this, right?"
right.
Or, but then they accepted it. And then, your dads are your dads, you're your
Yeah,
daughter. They know nothing,
Right.
right? They know nothing,
Yeah.
and I love them for that, right? Because the innocence is bliss, but what I did say to my dad was, "Please," because he's a very good researcher,
Right.
"please do not don't look it up.
Right.
Don't watch YouTube. Don't because you don't want your, it's when you know what you're getting done,
Right.
you don't want that visual there for them. But what I would say is, and thank you for the kind words. The one thing I did do that I thought, I don't know if I'm brave enough to do this, is at the 8-week post-op. So I use post-op, pre-op, all
Yep.
that. 8-week post-op was a milestone to get to 8 weeks
Mhm.
post-op. And I posted publicly on my
Yeah,
Instagram.
you did.
And it took me 8 weeks to write that, like, to
Mhm.
sit on it, to get my emotions, to get my do I really? Because nobody knew. Work just knew I was off
Mhm.
because I had to have a surgery. Nobody, and I say nobody loosely. I would say I can count on 5 fingers, maybe
Right.
4 people that knew. And I posted that, and I remember, I don't know what the kids say these days, like, "Might delete later," right? Like, I don't know if I don't know if I want this living in a public space and the outpour
Mhm.
of people. And what I would say that as much as sharing that, and I didn't do it for
No,
the car, like
you
"Oh
did
my
it for
god,"
you. You
it
did it for
was
you.
I did it for because I had to be like, "I gotta go back in the workforce now, I gotta go back in life, and my body isn't healed,
Mhm.
and so I need some acceptance and some grace if I'm wearing a really big moo dress today,"
Right.
right? I need some acceptance that I'm gonna say no to a few things, or I'm gonna be tired.
Mhm.
I go to bed at 8:37 now, like, it's like, I'm exhausted, like, it
Yep.
was to get the, like, feeling of, but what had happened, and you were one of them,
Yes, I was.
is it opened the door for other women
Mhm.
to private message me and DM me saying, "Can I talk?
Mhm.
I actually have been told I have to have a hysterectomy, and I would I know nothing."
Mhm.
And with you, I remember, you had all done the homework, right?
Right.
But it was, if I remember correctly, and
Mhm.
and you can, correct me, I think it was the morning after your post-op, and we're messaging, and I'm like, "Do you have this? Do you have
Yeah.
this? Did they tell you about this?" And you're like, "No, no. Hang
Yep.
on, I'm on Amazon
Yeah.
right
Oh,
now."
totally. I was literally like 12 hours post-op because you were incredibly kind and you were checking in and you knew what my surgery date was because I'd let you know and you'd connected me to a group that you were a part of, and so I got to secretly sit on the sidelines of that and watch other women's journeys. And because I didn't know anyone who'd had a hysterectomy, I didn't know anyone in my circle of friends who had endometriosis, who was suffering the way that I was. My friends and my husband had been incredibly supportive, but no one knew. And, my mom had recently had a hysterectomy because she'd had ovarian cancer. Different experience, different age and
Right.
stage. And, I did when I saw your very brave post. And I was like, "Hey, can I talk and tell me about this?" And, when I was also like, "Wow, you've done all this on your own and I want to be there for you as well." And but literally I was in the room making
Mhm.
sure the patient across the way wasn't going to run out of her bed for the third time since I was there. Um literally like I'm doing okay. I'm feeling like this, and I literally was on Amazon going, "Okay, I need this. I need this." And I did everything you told me to do. Because I was like, "You've done this, help me out." And I knew, and I just know you as a human, and, you've done the research, you're there to help in a genuine and way, and I wouldn't have been able to get through my recovery if it hadn't been for you, Laura. Like,
Thank you.
you you would just show up in my DMs, in my messenger, just randomly, and I was like, "I need you today." Like, because everybody wanted to help, but nobody knew what I was about to go through. And the one thing that I really also appreciated in your messaging was also like, "This is serious, Amy. Like, this is you need to do the recovery,"
Mhm.
and I knew, how big of a job you had and how hard that was for you as well. We're both determined, like, we're both busy and full and all the lives and all the pieces. And you're like, "You have to do recovery well." And in that moment when we were having that conversation, pre-surgery, I was like, okay, this is my job. Like my job, once I get out of
Mhm.
that operating room, is to recover
That's
because
what I said to you.
absolutely, because I've spent 30 years of my life not feeling well. So if I just jump back in, then how's that helpful? Like who am I? I'm certainly not
Mhm.
helping myself. And it's just going to prolong
Mhm.
this whole fucking path. And I did my recovery like you told me to, with all the things you told me to do.
Mhm.
And at 6 to 8 weeks, I was feeling better, but you don't feel better at least for a year. And you
Oh,
like, and
well,
you
yeah,
were like,
depending on your body.
yeah, like you were about 6, 7 months ahead of me.
Mhm.
And so, what's coming next? What's coming next? And, I remember you telling me how tired you were going to be. And I just remember like being like, "Oh, I'm tired, like, right now."
Mhm.
Like it's almost like narcolepsy where it's like, "I'm tired right now," like, "I'm gonna fall
Yes,
asleep,"
yes.
right? Like, not th and I don't have that, and I feel for the people that do, but it was literally like, we could be having this conversation, and I'd be like, "And I gotta go have a nap." Like,
Mhm.
pause, because it's just you've no idea, your body you've had an organ removed, like,
Mhm.
and
That's what I said to you.
yeah,
I said
yeah,
exactly that, and
totally,
that's I have a family friend who's a gynecologist, and she does hysterectomies, and what she said is, "You might look and feel fine on the outside. I rearranged your entire organs.
mhm,
You don't see that.
yeah.
That needs to heal, and if you jeopardize that, then you got other like, I
Yeah,
did
well, that's
all
just
this
it.
to feel better. Don't F it up."
No,
Yeah.
no.
I didn't go upstairs for 2 weeks
Yeah, I remember you telling me
because
that.
what you don't realize so I moved into my parents' basement,
Yeah.
and I made it sort of like there's a fridge down there, a
Mhm,
bathroom, and I laid on the couch, and I had propping, and I had
mhm.
the heating pad and the how to get out of bed because you don't realize how much you use your stomach muscles.
Yep.
You use your stomach muscles to stand up, to sit down, but to go upstairs and to pull that leg up one stair or down you could rip your stitches.
Yeah.
And so I remember like, "All right." And this would be the one thing my dad's like, "You're gonna be depressed in the basement. You're never gonna heal. Get yourself upstairs." And I'm like, "Dad, I will be upstairs in 2 weeks or when I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, and I appreciate that came with love and kindness. Don't
Yeah.
sleep in a basement forever, and you're gonna be
Right.
this isn't healthy, but this is where my life is right now, and
Yeah.
this is what I need to do to not jeopardize this recovery."
Yeah. Because it's
Yeah.
that important. And there's a girlfriend at my woman at my gym who's about to have a hysterectomy, and I literally I have you on my shoulders, and now I have myself on my shoulders because now I've endured.
Yeah.
And it's like you need to. And she's a yoga instructor, and similar to
Mhm.
me as an entrepreneur, and your business is tied to your physicality. And I was like, you have to not like you literally
Yeah.
have to not because you're screwed otherwise, and
Mhm.
you're not okay. Like, you're not
Yeah.
okay.
I had a friend of mine that didn't listen, so
Mhm.
reached out for the counsel, "But I'm healthy and I'm active and I do this 5 times a week and da da." I said, "Fair." And she ended up back in the emerge 4 days later.
Mhm.
So she then said,
Mhm.
I probably should have listened to you."
Because you're
Because you think you can conquer anything
right.
because you're in a health your body is a temple,
Yeah.
and I've looked after it, I eat well, I do this, this, and this. It's still organs being removed.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, everything we've dealt with as women, your journey with it and mine, the issue is unless we didn't sleep and had bags under our eyes or our pants didn't fit because we were super bloated that day or we bled through our pants, for the most part, you don't see anything of what we endured. Nothing.
Mm-mm.
And the same is with a hysterectomy. You had a freaking organ removed from your body, and the pain wasn't horrible. I had, like a burst blood, like where they kind of did one of the incisions, they map it out
Mhm.
so they don't hit blood vessels and stuff. Anyways, I happen to have one that's not in the right place, so it like burst, and so I had bruising.
Yeah.
So there was a few things that happened during my hysterectomy that weren't normal that caused me to be in a little bit more pain than I might have been, but I didn't find it overly painful, which is what screws with your mind, because
Right.
you're like, I don't feel pain. Like, I don't think I
Mhm.
needed my painkillers much after the first 3 days kind of thing,
Mhm.
but you're still not okay. And you're like, how do I need 6 to 8 weeks? What do you mean I can't drive a car? I mean, I did those
Mhm.
things. I didn't drive for 4 weeks,
Mhm.
And I have a house with a lot of stairs, so for the first couple weeks, based on your recommendation, I did stay within, like, the 1
The main
floor
floor,
and
yeah.
then moved because I was like, "Well, Flora says it, I gotta do it." So, and I'm like, "You're doing okay." So I'm like, "I'm gonna follow you." But you feel better. I mean, and my mind was going I started to color. I was like, "How many shows can I watch?" Because I was laying down, I was doing all the things.
All of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Every version of all the series of
Yeah,
Yellowstone I watched,
totally.
the 1983,
Yeah,
all of it, right?
yeah.
And I laid vertical,
Oh, yeah.
and my job was to recover.
Yep,
That was my job, and
100%.
just when do you get a chance to binge 6
Yep.
seasons of something? Never.
Totally. And I needed to move, so I literally started coloring. And because I told some people I did, then I got the, like, uterus I don't have a uterus coloring books and stuff, but I just needed it was a creative outlet for me, and so it was
Mhm.
enough that I still felt like I was accomplishing something, which
Yes.
is, unfortunately, we feel like we have to while we're recovering, that was the job, but it's like when
Mhm.
you're creative and you're busy and you know, you do things, it's weird to
Mhm.
just go from I literally went from because I had mine at the end of August and it's event season. So I went from like summer event season, literally drove home the day before and much to my husband's, he was like, "You need to rest." And I was like, "No, I've got to finish this job." And so,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're laid out and you're kind of sent home with not a lot.
Mhm.
Like I lost
Nothing.
like nothing. I was
I told
basically
you to steal the underwear.
yeah. Oh, you
I
d
said,
and I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see that? I'm like, "They're yours. Take
Yeah.
them. Take
I'm
all
like
the underwear
taking
you
all the
can."
things. I even took a blanket because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep this with me.
Yeah.
But you leave with now that you've had major surgery, you've had organs removed, and you're only in for 24 hours, and then you're like, oh,
If.
yeah, if, and your vitals are good, and you've peed or done whatever you're supposed to do. See you later. And for me, I had my ovaries removed, so I was immediately in surgical menopause. And so I was basically like handed a prescription for some estrogen, and it was like, "We'll see
Mhm.
you at the gynecologist in 2 years." I'm like, first of all, what do I do with the estrogen? And why
Right.
why am I still going to a gynecologist if I don't have any organs left?
Yeah.
Nobody even explains to you why you
Yep.
still need to see a gynecologist. And then here
And
it's
so,
slap.
I had my ovaries stay,
Yeah.
like, they didn't but I had to sign that if they found anything when they were in there, that I
Okay.
consented that they could remove them. And I'm like, "Please no, please no, please no." I didn't know why, but I just knew I did keep something,
Right.
right? And so I didn't go into menopause, and
Mhm,
I don't believe I'm in menopause right
mhm,
now, but that's the other thing is, how do I know? Because one of the first indicators is, you're missing periods.
mhm.
And then when you go for a full year, after you've gone 1 full year with no
Yeah.
period, well, I don't have that indicator anymore.
Right. Right.
So now it's this ambiguous game, and that's sort of what my next sort of chapter of research is gonna be is people like me. What do I need to look for? What do I need to watch for? What questions do I need to ask? Because just as you were saying, and sorry for interrupting, but
No, it's
you
okay.
leave with nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. And even just I don't wanna get too graphic, but going to the bathroom,
Mm.
you have to really think anything that's strenuous from
Yeah,
call it your waist down
totally.
is a risk.
Yeah.
And so thinking through how does that happen when you've been bogged up on antibiotics
Yeah.
and, painkillers and
Constipation
everything.
is like the first,
You
like
are
literally it says that on all the bottles of medication we're given after
Yeah.
surgery is like might cause constipation, but you can't really have constipation because you'll hurt yourself. It's like,
And so I'm like, "Get Dulux. Get it right away,
yeah.
and I want you to take it twice a
I know
day,
you did.
and don't worry
Yeah.
take it twice a day." Right?
Yeah.
Just ease
I
this
did all of
another
it.
thing that they don't tell you.
Nope. No, I think,
Yeah.
Laura, what we need to do after this, and you're a busy gal, is I literally think you need to take all the things you told me and have told others and literally create Laura's post hysterectomy list or pre and post hysterectomy. I'm not
Mhm.
even joking because you
Yeah.
saved my life. Like
Thank you.
in that moment, it was nice to have someone on the other end. You were this incredible friend and voice on the other end. And like this, you were just this warm hug. You were just someone who got it. And that was unreal how massively important that was to my recovery, and everything you told me to get was not a waste. Like, everything I did mattered, and
Thank
the
you.
thing is, Laura, is no one told you that. And
No.
this is part of this whole reason why we're having these conversations is that if you like think of chain of events, if you hadn't have posted you had a hysterectomy and I didn't happen to see that, my recovery may not have been as wonderful as it was because I wouldn't have had Laura who helped me, right?
And I would say anybody listening, while I make that novel of things you need to do, I'm sure Amy will share. They can please DM me,
Yes.
and it would be my pleasure to while I'm creating whatever. I
Yes.
think that is a great idea.
I
Yeah, I
think you
didn't think about
should.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I can help anybody, I actually had another. So when I said I've had a few people reach out, a friend of a friend, so someone I never even met, she said, "You need to my friend did this. I don't know if
Mhm.
she can help you." And she actually said, "You're a godsend.
Mhm.
Nobody told me any of this." And she was already 4 days post-op and couldn't understand why she was feeling the way she was feeling and
Mhm.
had 0 sort of coping or support or what she would have needed. And again, a stranger, a complete
Yep.
stranger, and she's like, "This has been an eye opener for me. Thank you."
Yeah, because there's no book you and I can get. If we
No.
could, we would. And this is why
Yeah.
we're having these conversations, right? This is why when you're like, I don't know what you have to talk about. I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't have been able to get through my hysterectomy if it wasn't for talking to you. So you had to go do that. Like, well, there's all these conversations starting and they're so important about perimenopause and menopause and
Mhm.
endo and PCOS and all the things and why we're here and why I've launched the Down There Were podcast and the event. It's like, because there's still so much missing, right? Like you and I,
We
we
don't talk about it.
no, and no one's researched it. And if they have, it's not readily available. I can't go to the bookstore right now, and nor can you, or find online the book that's going to tell us how to manage hysterectomies with ovaries and without ovaries because they're very different. You just said, I don't even know when I'm going to be in menopause. I was told I was in menopause. What does that
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? And even, I know the specialists that are out there right now and they're on stages and I'm so grateful for that, but we're still like the surgical hysterectomy, menopausal ovaries still in our bodies. Like, we're still like, what about us? What about us? Because we don't know. And even our doctors don't know. Like my gyno, I've self-directed because I've done a little bit similar to you for pre and post-op. I'm like, okay, so now I'm in surgical menopause. I can't find anything on that. Thanks for the like astrogel. Great, I'll slap
Mhm.
that on my
See you in
body.
2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so you feel, you recover and then you feel okay ish. And then and I just knew because you were 2 months out, I was like, oh, this is what Laura's feeling. This is what I'm going to feel. And then all of a sudden you get to a year and all of a sudden the weight starts coming on. All of a sudden you're still tired. Should I still be tired? Why am I gaining weight? I'm not just gaining it. Like I literally haven't changed my lifestyle at all. I've
Yeah.
actually gotten better. Like post hysterectomy, I was like, I've got to be fit. So like a year later, I started lifting weights, doing other things. I'm like, why am I'm gaining weight? I'm still
Mhm.
tired. I've got brain fog beyond belief, but shouldn't
Oh,
I be okay? I'm rubbing on the estrogel. Like I
yeah.
should be fine. Like,
Mhm.
what is all that? And then I have literally found like I'm paying out of my pocket for my care and
Mhm.
piecing together bits of research and bits of information and trying to find the right healthcare providers because I spent 30 years of my life feeling like shit.
Yeah.
I didn't have a hysterectomy so that I could then feel like shit for another 20 just in a different way without a fucking tampon. Like,
Right. Right. And that's kind of what I'm at is I keep going to get more tests done or whatever, right? Because there isn't is this normal?
right,
Or do I have something else?
right,
Or has this triggered something else?
right.
Because there isn't anything there. And even just one connection, like your body gives you clues. And if you're not listening to the clues, they're giving you signs. And for me, I was always having migraines.
Mm.
And since the hysterectomy, I have less migraines. And this was just mind blowing for me
Right.
because on top of the painkillers, I'm ODing on migraine medication. And what I realized, no, so again, I am no doctor, no
Yeah.
scientist.
Neither of
This
us.
is my own personal journey.
Yeah.
Was, well, of course I'm going to have less migraines because I'm not always on my period. And so I was getting a lot of migraines because my periods would trigger a migraine. So
Right.
right before my period, I would get a migraine.
Mm.
Well, when you're always bleeding and always on your period, it was like living in a state of migraines.
Right.
And so now this is sort of my clues is I get 2 migraines a month and I can catch it
Mm.
now. right when I would have got my period.
Interesting.
So I actually still use 3 years later, I still use the same period app tracker
Okay.
so that I can track migraines now.
Right.
And then when I would have ovulated. And it's amazing almost how clockwork it is that I'll look at the calendar and be like, within this 24 hours, 48 hours, I know there's going to be a migraine and I'm ready to take the pill to catch it.
Right.
So again, even though I'm still getting 2 migraines a month, beforehand, I was getting like, I felt like it was a month of migraines
Right.
because it was tied to this wahoo of a cycle that
Right.
had no cycle.
Right.
So that was just a little thing that, again, if you're listening and tracking and,
Right.
and doing the tracking, you can connect some of the patterns in that. And then I do remember speaking to my direct boss at the time because I think the thought was, well, I don't have time to take 6 weeks off. It's never a good time. And she, as a woman, didn't know the details. And all she said is, I've got you. Like,
Mm.
this is something if you need to do this. And I think as leaders and as those that show up in the workforce,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're as empathetic to what and again your speaker that you had on I think it was Yvonne, your last speaker, and
Yolanda?
talking about
Yes. Yeah.
Yolanda, thank you. And her having to show up every day at work and getting phone calls at work. And like you when you are performing and working every
Mhm.
single day, they don't care. They don't care. And I rushed back. I did take the 6 weeks because I felt pressure to be back.
Right.
I started to dabble in an email from home on the
Mhm.
couch
Right.
week 5-ish,
Mhm.
and then I literally had a 3-day offsite my first week back. And I'm like, "How the" and I'm packing the heating pad, like,
Yeah.
I'm packing the medical everything, and it's like because they expect you to be there. You are a leader, and you
Yeah.
are gonna be at this 3-day offsite, and I'm like, "I am just back."
Mhm.
And I now regret that. I
Right.
absolutely now regret that. But what I would say is if you're on the fence or there's never a good time, there's never gonna be a good time.
No.
Never.
No.
Never gonna be a good time, and you have to put that's the one thing I didn't do is needed to put as much as I put my career first,
Mhm.
and I showed up every day for my career, I wasn't showing up for myself.
Yeah.
And careers come and go, jobs come and go, titles come and go.
Yeah.
Show up for yourself first.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think that is so important because you're ultimately prolonging the inevitable. And then prolonging the inevitable, you're also still living in pain. You're still living in silence. You're still like, you don't, well, you're living in the unknown of what that means once it's over.
Mhm.
You hope, and I know hope's not a strategy, but you hope that
Yeah.
you take that next step for your health, that things are going to get better. And I, similar to you, my doctor's like, you need to have it, June. And I was like, well, the summer is a really busy season for me. And being an entrepreneur, I mean, I'm very grateful that my husband is supportive in all of it. But as an entrepreneur and as an event planner,
Right.
my summer is literally
That's peak.
that's peak.
Peak
Like,
season.
I have to move, and so I did make the choice to do it at the end of the summer, but I didn't wait till November. I did have to I had an incredible team of friends and family who came, who walked the dog, who fed us, who did the things when Eric wasn't around, and I had an incredible team that showed up for me to do the job because, to your
Mhm.
point, there was never going to be a right time, and the only person that was suffering was me
Mhm.
and was
Yeah.
you. And the workplace, it's I can't wait to continue to have conversations with people like yourself and Yolanda. Like, the workplace thing has really struck a chord for me in
Mhm.
terms of how I don't want to say it's unsupported, because it's unsupported because people don't know. And I feel like it's going to be helped by women like yourself who've now been through the adventure that you've been through, myself, people like Yolanda who now can stand back and go, okay, like, this isn't okay. So what can
Mhm.
we do to better support women in the workplace? Because while we can, add some, like, we can help people identify symptoms and stuff, it doesn't all of a sudden mean you're going to become someone like me who's willing to sit here in their underwear and walk into an office and be like, oh, by the way, like, this is happening to me. You could still be someone like you who kept it to yourself. And I
Mhm.
would say more people are like you than they are like me. And there was absolutely times I didn't tell people, but I certainly didn't keep it as quiet as yourself and most. And that we're doing a disservice to all women, that there's
Mhm.
still shame and guilt. And you can't, like when Yolanda brought up the fact that she's like, I can't even tell anyone I'm going through this because here's the myriad of things. She's trying to have babies. Well, we can't promote her. What if she's going to be off because she can't? Mental health, all the things. And so you just go, all right, I'm just going to do this all by myself. And then, you add a layer in terms of, which I think is important and shouldn't be forgotten, is you were an independent woman at home as well. And so, and whether it's by choice or I believe your subconscious helped with all that, and that's why you have therapists and done all the things that you've done, because you held yourself back because of all the things that were happening to you, and it just shows. And I think that's what got me in the heart in the beginning of our conversation is it's society at large, it's the lack of information, and then it's just literally generationally how we're just meant to keep all that literally down there under there,
Mhm.
and it's it's not okay.
Yeah, and there was something that Yolanda said on hers that struck a chord is, when she was talking about baby showers,
Mm.
and then she leaned into while she got this devastating news at work,
Mhm.
everyone was sending flowers to a coworker that got their appendix out.
Yeah.
And so for me, when she said that, the first and I didn't even think about this in the moment, we're talking 3 years later,
Yeah.
what came right up to the surface for me when she said that, and again, different
Yeah.
circumstances for sure, was I just went through a surgery and I will never have a baby shower.
Right.
I will never get that card, that balloons,
Mhm.
all the stuff that you see.
Yeah.
I will never get that. But with the exception of one friend who dropped off cookies and she was in the neighborhood, she lives nearby with a card, didn't know what my surgery was. It was a get well soon
Yeah.
card because she knew I had surgery. And a family friend that same thing, get well soon. There was no, and again, my choice
Yeah.
for not sharing.
Right.
Had I shared, there was no, I'm really sorry.
Mhm.
Or how are you doing?
Right.
Because that is such a huge, it is a huge surgery,
Mhm.
a huge decision, a huge, um, I say decision, but also like that is a chapter that is
Mhm.
closed. And I don't think publicly anybody acknowledges when a woman has that, there is physical pain,
Mhm.
mental pain, emotional pain,
Mhm.
and you have to grieve. And with no support network around, and I'm telling you, there isn't a card at Hallmark
No.
that's going to say, I'm so sorry you had a hysterectomy. You'll be okay.
Right.
Like, even that won't do it, right?
No.
And even just when some people did start to find out, well, you could always adopt. You don't think I thought of that? You don't think I thought of that? And
Thanks,
it comes from a
tips.
good place. It comes from a
Of course.
very and I know someone, a colleague of mine, who's just adopted, and watching her journey and story has
Right.
been beautiful. But just throwing that at me right now,
Yeah.
that's not,
That's
please don't say that, right?
yeah.
Because I know that. I'm very well
Yeah.
aware that that was an option. Thank you.
Yeah. Looked at that, figured that, yep.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. And
did the homework.
it's it's so true. And um I was gonna say something and I lost my train of thought because my mind is just blown right now. And it oh, what the point is like you and I, you for different both of us for different reasons, hit this hysterectomy mark. There are women who are 20 years our junior, who are in 30 years our junior, who are in their 20s having
Yeah.
hysterectomies. And what support network is there for them? Like they're like literally in the heart of watching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know how life works, right? Your friends find a partner, they get married. I mean, obviously things change and not everybody's doing all the things, but like
Mm-hmm.
traditionally in the world, you hit your 20s, people are dating, they get engaged, and then so marriages are starting and babies are starting and life as,
Mm-hmm.
the playing house as kids and those kinds of things start to happen. And so now you're in your 20s and you have a hysterectomy. So like you literally have there's like you're never like the only option for you is surrogate and adoption, which are
Yeah.
beautiful and available and amazing that there's still options. However, to that physical, to your point of like, this is about me, you can't. And
Mm-hmm.
I think of those women and I look forward to finding them because I want them to get care as well. Is if you're 20 some odd years old and you have a full hysterectomy like I did, you're in menopause in your 20s. Like,
Wow.
like what's happening for you? And, at least I'm a part of the menopause conversation right now because my friends are of the
Right, it's
age.
topical in our age group.
Right? So,
Yeah,
like, I'm surrounded by people who are talking about it and what supplement are you doing and, calm magnesium before bed, flavor, and like all the
right.
things. But if you're in your 20s, not one of your friends is talking about
And
surgical
there's no
menopause.
relatability at
No,
all.
no.
Yeah,
And I think we're cool and people should hang out with us. But, in your 20s, like, we're their kid, like, that's my kid. That's his
yeah.
girlfriend. That's his fiance. That's his, you know, they're not hanging out with us. Like,
No.
unless, we're
And
unless we're
never even
buying them
thought of it, but
dinner,
that is a
right, like,
huge.
yeah,
Yeah, that is
yeah.
huge. If I can I share one more
Yes,
story?
please.
You mentioned something when you were in the hospital about, there was a roommate you had?
Yes.
And or people that were moving
Yeah.
in and out. So speaking of younger person, I thought I had the ocean view room to myself, okay? Because I checked in well, I had my surgery in the morning.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock, I got moved into a room, which was great. There was nobody in there. I got the window. I was delusional.
I know.
Um, and actually, I'll go down another story if there's time. But
Yeah, of
and
course.
then around midnight, um, they moved a woman in, and a very young lady, and I wanna be mindful of her story and keep it her a bit private, but, she was in the ER all day,
Mm.
and she got moved in with and her boyfriend, and there was no visiting hours, and then he had to leave, and I'm listening, and again, you want to respect their privacy, but
Yeah.
it's a curtain.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
can hear everything that's happening,
yeah.
right? It's a
There
curtain.
is no wall.
And then my first thought was like, "Well, there goes my private suite,"
Right.
right? But then I'm listening to the conversation, and they're prepping her for emergency surgery.
Mm.
She was in the ER, and so she was and as soon as the doctor left, I could hear her crying,
Mm.
because she was in her early 20s, mid-20s rather, and she's alone, and I just yelled not yelled over the wall, I'm
Yeah.
like, "I just wanna let you know there's someone over here. If you need anything, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm on the other side of surgery if you have any questions." And so through this curtain, we had this conversation, and I kinda said to her, I said, "Look, I don't know what you're getting done, and it's not my business, but just know it's gonna be cold
Yeah.
and they're gonna give you a bit of a blanket, but, like, it ain't gonna do much, and, like, you're probably it's not like Grey's Anatomy because I'm
Yeah.
trying to relate to
Yeah.
her, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna walk into the OR with your own 2 feet, nobody
Mhm.
wheeling you in,
Nope.
and you're gonna crawl up on the OR bed because nobody's wheeling you up there, and they're gonna give you something, and they're gonna say, "Count to 10," you might get to 8, you're not gonna feel anything, and then they're probably gonna bring you back up here, and so
Mhm.
if you have any stuff, like, "Don't worry, I'll watch it for you." Like, I'm an honest person,
Yeah.
like, your phone isn't gonna get stole and I'm just trying to, like,
Help.
calm her, and I thought to myself, I had 6 months of therapy, 47 years to kinda get through this, and she had 25 minutes
Right.
to know she's going into emergency surgery, and again, it wasn't a hysterectomy,
Yeah.
and I wanna keep it private, but enough to impact what's gonna happen for the rest of her
For
life.
sure.
And no support. And so she gets wheeled back and I'm still in a lot of pain and I'm calling the nurse like I'm,
Right.
delusional and still on painkillers. And before she got dismissed through the wall, we exchanged phone numbers and she said, "Can I message you? You've been such a great support." And I said, "Yeah." And so during our post-op and while we were both off, we text every single day.
Oh.
And she didn't have anybody because she can't talk to your circle. So like you
Right.
said, her friends won't understand. I wasn't offended in any shape or form when she said I'm her mom's age,
Yeah.
but like
But great.
but also
Perfect.
and so we met for the first time in person on our 1 year
Aw.
surgical anniversary. And we are meeting for the breakfast this coming for our third anniversary. And we still stay in touch. But just thinking about your conversation about that younger generation and what do they do and who do they have made me remember to
Yeah.
tell you this story because she would have been on her own.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't she walked into the same hospital I did on the same day I did,
Yeah.
different surgery, different recovery, but enough to I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I don't know
Right.
what's coming next.
Life's
And
altered.
she leaned on me in a way of like, you're the older person.
Yeah.
You've done more homework. Like, what to expect? And she's just a beautiful soul. I'm so happy I'm in her life and we still stay in touch. But where is she getting the support, and where is that generation for what they're going through
Yeah.
in a different age bracket, in a different phase in life than we are.
Well, and unfortunately, well, one, Laura, you're an angel to so many. So as you're, as you're always contemplating, in life, what effect do I like? What you are there in an unbelievable way to people. Like, so, know how much, like, if you didn't, most people wouldn't talk through the curtain. Just know that. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
gave her a
I
gift. And it's you,
and
it's who you are.
it
So you
I was
don't
gonna
kn
say that's
so
the
you
yeah.
don't know that you're this, like, unicorn, but you are, so own that and thank you.
Yeah.
You were for me, and you clearly were for your new girlfriend, and, it's the problem is they don't have anyone to talk to because nothing's changed. Like,
Yep.
Natalie, who is our creative director and done all our branding, who was on the podcast already, she's in her
Mhm.
20s and she's literally verbatim being told the same things I was 35 years ago. Like, there's how nothing has. I know things are changing. And again, you and I aren't doctors. We're living through our own lived
Yeah.
experience and the people that are in our circles. And, we're doing this so that we can create change and we can, take away the loneliness and take away the like, am I nuts? No, this is
Yeah.
real. Like, this is real. And it's finding community of people who understand. Like, you and I didn't have the same hysterectomy for the same reasons or have the same outcome. Like, I'm in surgical menopause, you're not, but
Mhm.
we're still a community of women who didn't know why and all the things and why are we there and nobody helped us. We still left hospitals with nothing in our hands except for stolen underwear because Laura told me to. Like, right? Like,
By the way, you can buy hospital
yeah.
underwear on Amazon, and I encourage you to do that.
Yes,
That's on the
you did.
list.
You also told me to do so I did that, but I also stole a pack because Amazon, well, is quick. It
Yeah.
was still gonna be 24 hours, and I didn't wanna not have
Yeah.
underwear for 24 hours. But also, why are we feeling like we're stealing it? Why is it not in a gift pack?
Yes.
Right? Like, why is it not, "Here's your take-home pack of supplies?"
Right.
Because, we still, especially in Ontario, where we live, like, OHIP, our taxes, like, those are ours. Why do
Mhm.
we feel like we have to steal them? Why did someone not
Yeah.
tell us what they were, right? Like, there's
And
so
before we go to
much.
hospital
Yeah.
jail, the nurse did
Yeah.
say, "If you wanna take those extra ones, you can.
Right.
We're not go" right? So I
We're
just
not
before
gonna
you
go
go
to
to hospital
hospital
jail, we
jail.
didn't really steal them, but she did
We
encourage
took
that if I would
those.
like them, they
Yes.
were mine.
But at the same time,
I told you to steal them.
yeah, like, but at the same time, we shouldn't even, they are there, and I don't think any nurse would be like, "Oh, you
Mhm.
shouldn't take them." But we second guess, should we,
Yep.
when they're in need, and they should literally be our goodie bag as we're leaving. Like, right?
Mhm.
Like, think about it. If we had goodie bags of like, and why not? Should they
Yeah.
be fun? Because I think everything should be a party, even if it's a shit show. But like, here's your goodie bag. Here's your 7 days. Or like, I think now you're going to create this, like, what everybody needs pre and post op list. And that,
Yep.
we're going to put that in the show notes. And then people are going to be able to download it when they're DMing you so that you can take care of them, Laura. Like, you have
Perfect, perfect.
literally, if you didn't do that, like I
Mhm.
said, I wouldn't be where I was. If you didn't talk to that woman through the curtain, you wouldn't have had a new friend and she certainly wouldn't have felt support. Like,
Mm.
you have given a gift to so many through your story, and especially when you kept it to yourself. I wish I could have given you more. I wish I knew sooner. I'm so grateful you shared. I'm so grateful you took a risk and came on today to talk to me. I think we could talk forever, and
I think so too,
I
and thank
love
you for
that.
having me.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
Mhm.
Laura, you are a gift to me and to everyone that you touch. So thank you. And absolutely, people are going to want to reach out. So how can they
Mhm.
do that, Laura? We'll put it in the show notes, but how can people
Yeah,
reach
I was
out?
gonna through Instagram is
Yeah.
probably the best if they
Okay.
DM me through Instagram, and you'll have
Perfect.
my handle and all that, yeah.
Absolutely. Any last words?
I think I've said a lot of things, throughout, and all I would say is just listen to your body,
Mhm.
and as you've said from your first episode and as you're saying every episode, advocate for yourself
Mhm.
and really just make sure that you're putting yourself first and you are not alone. And everybody's journey is different, but you are not alone in thinking and feeling how you feel. We just don't have the medical system that's going to back us up and support us and give us the leaflet that we need with everything that we need to know. We've got to be advocates for ourselves. And yeah, I think that's important that I might have waited too long because I thought I was by myself. And I think that if that message can get out of, whatever you can do as best as you can, as soon as you can, your quality of life
Mhm.
will change. And that's what's the important part is you're living your life, not letting this
Yeah,
manage you.
totally. Well, we're gonna drop the mic right there. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
so
you so
so
much.
so grateful you were here. Thank you.
Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for getting loud with us today on the Down There Where podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never, ever miss an episode. And leave us a review. It would help us reach more women who've been told to suffer in silence. And here's the thing, awareness isn't enough. We need action, we need funding, we need change. That's where the Down There Affair comes in. We're a global peer-to-peer fundraising movement putting menstrual health center stage, from menstruation to menopause and everything in between. Diseases affecting men receive twice the funding of those affecting women. Only 11% of research dollars go to women's health. We're here to change that. Visit downtherewhere.org to register for our next walk, start fundraising, or join the movement. We can't do this alone. Oh, and follow us on social at the Down There Affair, because this conversation doesn't stop when the episode ends. Whether you're dealing with your own health journey, supporting someone who is, or ready to demand the care we all deserve, you're in the right place. Getting uncomfortable is where change happens, and we're never going back. I'm Amy Milne. Stay loud.
Oh, that was binge worthy.